how I wanted to open this, especially with this being my first one, obviously special guest. A lot of people have asked me, how did you get into real estate? How did you and Bennett start working together? And I know my side of it.
Okay.
But I'm curious, if someone were to ask you that same thing, what story would you tell them?
Okay. So the piece that I wanted, because I have a tendency to just tell like the longest possible story, right? When someone asks me like to tell a story, I'm like, I'm going to give you every detail you don't want to know. So the part that I wouldn't, but I'm going to now because we have time. I remember when you and I first started talking at the gym. So this was probably a year before we actually started working together formally.
Yeah.
You had a property under contract, I think, in Central Oak Park.
Yeah.
And I think it was a duplex.
Yeah, two separate units.
Yeah. So 2 single family homes on the same property. And remember we talked about that. And so that was the first introduction that you and I had to even any kind of relationship that was involving real estate.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a year later, this would be when we were still at OG, and then you were working for, I believe at the time, the mold remediation company.
Yes.
Okay.
Short stint. Yeah.
So yeah, very short stint. Yeah. Well, it's hey man, it takes all sorts of figuring out what it is until you get to the one that works, right?
Yeah.
So. But so you're working with that company, and I was and actually, so maybe it was right after actually, because at that time I had transitioned from working alongside Megan's dad,
Right.
and I decided I was like, I want to try to make this wholesaling thing work.
Yeah.
And I'm awful with timing, so I think this was when we were coming out of the COVID time.
Yeah, still right? 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had just started getting into, or not just, but I was starting to get heavier into direct text marketing,
Yeah.
which I say that way because at one point we were doing just enormous amounts.
Yeah.
Like the amount that I considered heavy was literally like 2% maybe of that, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember talking to you and saying like, I'm getting leads. I just need to get like help with boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And that was how it started.
Yeah.
So. Is that somewhat accurate to yours?
Yeah, but we have different stories for sure.
Okay.
Which is why I thought it'd be fun to talk about it. So the first time I met Bennett was actually, I think I was either in my real estate course or I'd just gotten out of it.
Okay.
And, pull up to the gym and, hey, there's this new guy at the gym and on his truck says, I buy houses.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay, of course, like, that guy's down the path that I wanna be. So of course I'm gonna go introduce myself. And then shortly after I had that property under contract. But then I tell people that, where you were at, where you were getting the leads and stuff like that. And you were I explained to people, you were trying to take like what you had as not an accidental side hustle, but like a side hustle where like when you come across deals,
Yep.
you may wholesale them,
Yeah.
but then you were trying to turn it into an actual business. And I was exiting bands.
Right.
It was very clear I was going to be kind of getting out of that because.
Yeah, I think I have my timing mixed up with your current profession at that time. But yeah, right.
I mean, it wasn't far off, yeah.
Yeah.
But because that kind of overlapped as well. When I was coming out, you were trying to scale, and I just exited or essentially was in the process of exiting and looking for my new thing. But you had gone through at least an iteration of trying to work with someone.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And I had a partnership in bands, and I didn't necessarily learn what a good partnership looked like,
Right.
but I learned what I felt like a bad partnership looked like.
Sure.
I found like the things that didn't really work for me, and I think you did the same when you had, that iteration of trying to get into wholesaling and do that business with, other people in the community,
Right.
and it didn't work out, of
Right.
course. So that's my story. That's kind of how I share. Like
I feel like it's a similar story. You just tell it more eloquently.
Maybe.
and you tend to have a better memory than me with some of those details too.
It's kind of funny, before I kind of proceed onto the partnership thing, it was kind of funny that like I started to be able to connect some dots about how like out of your family, you were the last person who I actually met.
Right.
Because I met your brother like my first night ever in St. Pete.
Yep.
And then I met Megan when I was like selling food plans and stuff like that.
Yep. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But it was funny because like I had only known her in that environment,
Yeah.
Orange Theory. So I didn't realize that until like, I don't really know when it was, but there was one day I'm like, wait a
You
minute.
came over and started working at my house.
Yeah, it might have been.
Like, hey, I know this girl.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I know you from a completely different, for a different reason. And so that was kind of funny. But I wanted to ask, and I'm not looking for like, not looking to hype myself up at all, but what did you feel, where was the comfort? Where did that come from to where you were like, after going through a not so good attempt at a partnership, to where like, this makes sense to at least explore?
It's a good question. I mean, so just my general outlook on partnerships in business, that I don't think people appreciate it enough, because I actually, my initial, or my very first lessons when it came to business partnerships were back when I was in college and trying to start some of my first businesses, and very typical of college kids. It's like, let's screen print T-shirts and that kind of, I think it's typical of younger kids to do like a product-based business rather than like a service, unless you're, I don't know, maybe I'm aging myself. Maybe now the kids are all using AI and doing nothing but service.
Yeah, maybe.
They probably should. They should be if they're not. It's a marriage, right? So like, this needs to be someone that you are going to be able to communicate well with. You feel like they share the same types of values as you, and really thinking about like, how is this going to work out when we get to a situation that isn't great?
Ideal.
Yeah, like, not necessarily between the two people, but like when you enter a period where it might test your values.
Yeah.
Like, is that other person going to be there with you? So, honestly, I feel like the manner in which you and I went into business together initially was probably low risk, because we were just exploring that idea of like, hey, let's work together and try to find houses.
Yeah.
And then as an actual partnership formalized, that was based on you and I working together and recognizing that we were very connected in those things. Like, we have the same priorities in life, like we, and I mean, I love telling this story. This one I never forget, but like, I knew, am I stealing some of you?
No, I'm just curious where we're going to go.
Well, I just, like, so at that time in my life, that was when I first started really emphasizing the importance of like waking up early in the morning.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this before, like, obviously when you send a message to someone at like 5 in the morning, it's either rude or an attempted flex or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I remember like literally the first morning, like that was my routine. And I developed that a lot during COVID. I felt like that was an opportunity for me when like a lot of people were getting kind of sloppy and like whatever they were focused on at work. I loved COVID, not obviously the bad part of COVID, but like what it provided us, especially in Florida, because we weren't on complete lockdown. But that was the first time in my career where I felt like I wasn't just sprinting, like I've been trying. It's like that gave me the time where I could actually like kind of calm down and like start mapping out the idea of like, hey, I want to scale a business that's a little different than what my main focus has been, which is buying rental properties and like doing some flips. Like, I want to try to do this thing that's completely different, which is getting into wholesale and maybe more flips, or what it's evolved to now, obviously. But the whole point of the story is, I sat down and sent a message to you at like 5 in the morning and got one back immediately. It's like, all right, this guy gets it. And just like, you were an action taker, and that's the difference, is like, someone in the relationship, it's great if both people are action takers. And I like to think that, I execute as well, but like, you're very good at taking action. Like, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. And that's a value and a trait that I think is really important just in people in general.
Yeah.
But you look for it in your partnerships too. And I think honestly, like, that's one of the things that I think of when I think of leadership and like what a leader is someone that follows through on what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree with that. Someone who I've always admired was Tony, which kind of leads me into another question I want to ask you. But Tony was someone who I always like. When I thought about the people I want to be with, or not be with, be like.
Yeah.
I thought of Tony because he just had like when Tony said he was going to do something, he did it.
Yep.
And I really admired that. Has integrity. I got to see that with you with the time period before starting to work together. Obviously I got to see you in CrossFit when I was having my office connected to the gym. Like, we ran into each other a lot, and I
Right.
got to see, I saw you in the morning for classes and stuff, but then when I wasn't in class or whatever, I still got to see that even if I wasn't directly in class. What I wanted to talk about was CrossFit before we kind of got too far, because I've always felt that CrossFit really exposes like characteristics.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see kind of what your thoughts were, because I feel like we've built a team that's now, there's a lot of like fitness and focus on that, because it leads into various, parts of your life. So
Right.
I wanted to see if you felt the same way about what CrossFit does, because I feel like CrossFit is like, it's a lot different than any other workout, because
Yeah.
you're going to see who someone is.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so my general take on CrossFit, but this applies to other fitness pursuits just in general too. But basically doing hard things.
Yeah.
And I was always drawn to CrossFit because I don't know if I just had something to prove when I was younger, but like I constantly wanted to have something hard put in front of me so felt like I could overcome it,
Yeah.
work towards it, be the best that I could at it, and hopefully prevail. And CrossFit gives you that opportunity every single day.
Yeah.
And I got into it coming from a background in typical like Globo gym, just like lifting, and then got really inspired actually by Murph. That just really resonated with me, the entire reasoning behind that workout. So I came and did Murph, and then was kind of instantly hooked by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I think CrossFit is great because it gives you that opportunity every day to challenge yourself. And you and I talk about this a lot. Like, your baseline is whatever you've overcome,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's that sets the standard in your mind for what you know that you're capable of.
Yeah.
So if you're not setting new challenges for yourself on a consistent basis, then you're going to remain stagnant. And
Yeah.
that's completely like the opposite of why I think we're here on Earth. I think we're here to grow to our highest potential. The other thing I like about CrossFit is, and this is also just with fitness in general, but like I kind of view myself as like, this represents this represents what I like, my work ethic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not tattooed or anything like that. Like, I was given this body, so like I'm gonna do the best I can with it. And like, so I like to try to stay in good shape to show that like I can be consistent. Like, I have self-discipline. Like all those characteristics that like
Yeah.
I try to hold myself to. Like, it's accountable when I look in the mirror.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're like a walking business card almost,
Yeah.
because like people or people gather information about you without really having to talk to you,
Right.
because they can see like, okay, obviously this guy's put in the hard work. Like,
Sure.
you don't look chiseled if you haven't worked hard in the gym.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say too, it's like if you see some guy who's who's jacked and strong or whatever, like he's really applied himself in the gym, I can guarantee you not a single dude like that would say that didn't carry over to other parts of their life as well.
Yeah.
Right. And one of our core values is outwork, and there's a reason I think that we started attracting people into our culture and our organization that come from a fitness background, or when they join, they suddenly find themselves on this fitness journey for them, on their
Yeah.
own. It's because that's
the
it.
standard.
Yeah, it's the standard,
Yeah.
And it's the way you do one thing, the way is the way you do everything.
Yeah.
And that carries over through, it starts in the morning for me going to the gym, and goes all the way through the day, through work, and into the evening when I'm with my family and with my son.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I really, I've admired our team for kind of stepping up to that, because I know that.
dude, it gets me so pumped.
Yeah.
Seriously, like I think it's so awesome just seeing like Andrew now getting in to CrossFit, and also, and that's the really cool thing, is seeing that it's not just the individual on our team, but he's doing it with his fiance.
Yeah.
So like she's participating now in it too, and Brian riding 80 miles in one weekend on his bike, and
Yeah.
doing whatever he's done now for his streaks on the Peloton, I think up to like 100 days. So awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I was just telling Brittany, I don't know what the weight loss has been, but I don't know, 60 pounds or
Yeah,
something like that.
it's
Brian's lost?
tons. I mean, I saw a picture of him from a few years ago, and like, it's shocking,
Yeah.
And I mean, you can tell, like, I mean, you're happier,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like your standard of living is just mentally and emotionally is better.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of benefits to just beyond, and it builds your own self-confidence.
Yeah.
Like I mean, by the way, I have been through. Megan and I call them versions. There's been a lot of versions of Bennett. Like I was very big athlete throughout high school, and I thought that when I was younger, I was like, I think I'm gonna probably play collegiate sports, and I was hoping I would play lacrosse, and that didn't work out, and I ended up having knee surgery after my senior season, and went to UF. And became a.
I don't know if I knew that you had knee surgery.
Yeah. I mean, you're not surprised, right? Yeah, I'm all replacement parts, man. But yeah, went to UF and became a party boy and put on at least a freshman 15 and need to lose that. And then when I got out of school, kind of got a little too into. A combination of being in my early 20s and also being really focused on work. So like I was always very dedicated to work, but like not in the best habits, like I hadn't developed those habits yet. And when you're in your 20s too, like the general 20-year-old habits aren't great, like you don't have a lot of guys that want to hang out and go to bed at 9:30,
No.
So like obviously like my social schedule would go with that, and so that would carry over. And there was very common on weeknights that I would be up until like 1 or 2 in the morning, working, and then you got to have a few drinks to wind down to go to sleep, and then you wake up late in the morning because you're up till 2, and you're like, well, I guess I'm not going to go to the gym today.
Yep.
So like that to me was a really important time to like start developing those good habits and change it. So I can't remember why I started talking about different versions of Bennett, but they've been there. I guess my point is like, it takes prioritizing in life, and I've benefited from the mental positive reaction of it as well. I remember the confidence that I developed during that time and how much better I felt about myself, and that carried over into other aspects of my life too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I really didn't think about it until just now, but like you and I feel like I've set a good tone for the team for fitness, and you've set the tone well for me for fitness. But I feel like as the team has continued to like grow in their fitness journey, both of us have kind of stepped up a little bit on ours now too.
Right.
It's like you guys can't catch up to me.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, it is really fun though. I mean, it's cool having memories now of like you, me, and Brian doing Pinnell's trail rides, and cool. Like it's great to have camaraderie go beyond just in the office.
Talking about deals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you and I talk about that too. Like we literally now once a week need to have time blocked off to just be friends.
Yeah.
We get to do it on the weekends with our families and stuff. But just like, it's rare. Like especially when you're running a business, like it's very easy to default into just talking about the business.
Yes.
So just like when you have a marriage, it's very easy to default to talking about the kids. When you're married, when you're married with kids.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I've definitely realized that with my marriage with Brittany, a lot of times we'll be like just yesterday taking a walk.
Right.
It's like the only conversation is about Logan. And I'm like in the moment thinking like, okay, this isn't okay. Let's talk about something else.
I mean, it's not because your world revolves around them,
yes,
right? So like, of course, and like, it's the one thing you guys have in common the most because you created it together, but at the same time, it's like you recognize that there was a relationship before children, and like you need to nourish that too, right?
Yeah.
You guys are good about that, though.
We definitely try.
I mean, you guys like are really. Like, I feel like you sit down, and you do your goal setting together, and just important relationship conversations to know that you both care about each other as a person, not just as like the mother of my child.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Fun one. So we have done. I don't have the exact number. We've done about since end of 2020. We've done about 250 deals.
Sweet. Cool.
I feel pretty good.
Love that number.
I feel like,
Yeah.
I feel like you feel good about it too. But do you know how many we lost money on?
I think just 3.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So I can name them. That'll probably reveal. So 2 of them I know we're both going to know because they just happened.
Yes.
Right. So we had 9th Avenue and we had whatever the Lake Euclid one was.
27th.
27th.
Yeah.
The third one is the one in Shore Acres that we had a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Reflecting, which I always do, I'm curious if you've recognized what was common across those three deals.
All right. So there's a couple of lessons that are common from this, right?
Okay.
One, I would say that it really brought into focus the importance of having good systems and processes. Obviously in that regard, it would be in the underwriting process. And we put those in place.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when you lose money on a deal, you don't just brush it off. Like,
Yeah.
you're like me, you kind of like obsess over it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're like, how do I make this into a positive? So it's like, it's okay as long as we learn from this. And so what do we learn from it, right? So we've put in some checks and balances now in our underwriting process based on a couple of those lessons individually for each one. Double checking, is it in a historic district, that kind of stuff.
That was a big one?
That was a big one, yeah. that was the biggest one. And then we've had other ones that have been close calls that you only learn by doing.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Not only, but that's how I learn. So
The lesson's very clear when you...
Yeah, exactly. Growing up, my mom can definitely attest to this. I was put the hand on the stove. Like, you can tell me it's hot not to touch it, but I gotta know. So luckily it hasn't been too disastrous throughout life, but they leave a lasting impact. But I think the other common theme is detaching emotion from a transaction, because I know that with 27th, that one, look, the market is a heartless cold bitch, right? Yep. she doesn't, there's no meeting halfway with the market, right? Like and two of those deals in particular, I would say we lost money because of the result of a market shift, which in the scheme of things, not bad, right?
Yeah.
Like we've done pretty damn good. If we're doing 250 deals, 3 deals lost and 2 of them from market shift, we didn't really get caught with our pants down.
Yeah.
But yeah, one was the more recent market shift, and then the other one was, what was that, 2 or 3 years ago, I guess?
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah, before we were flipping.
Right, exactly. And so we just, and thank God, I look back on that, when we bought that, so it was a year before last summer's hurricanes.
Yeah.
If we had that during last summer's hurricanes, it would have been a whole different story.
Yeah, that was...
It would have hurt a lot more. But anyway, with not getting too emotionally attached to it or to the deal, I think it was wanting to will these to work, right? It's like, maybe on paper, like you get a little optimistic because you're just like, I think we can do this, guys. And it's just like, you can't. It's just like, if the numbers don't pencil out, you just can't chase it. But especially when you want it to work for the seller, or you want to develop this relationship with the agent who brought the deal, you can just kind of convince yourself that and they're close, right? It's not like it's a, totally obvious one. It's just like, you're getting a little overzealous. It's close, but you say you're going to do it, and that's when you get burned. Yeah. So what about you?
So I feel like with those 3 deals, we didn't have, so with the one in Shore Acres, we put ourselves in a position where we only had one exit.
Yep.
And then I feel like we kind of did the same with the other 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, yeah, we found out what the other exits were.
Yeah. Yeah, they were taking haircuts. But with the one, the biggest one there with the historic district, like we were so focused on this, like this direction, we didn't consider, okay, what happens if that doesn't work?
Right. And especially on bigger ticket ones, I think that's really important, right?
Yeah.
Because we were putting all of our chips on this can be subdivided and sold and redeveloped into multi-units.
Yeah. Yeah, and then going back to the Shore Acres one, like we were at a price point that didn't quite make sense, but then someone was willing to buy it. Yep. So we put ourselves in a position that really hurt when that person disappeared.
Same thing on 27th.
Same thing on 27th.
Yep, that was it. And you're right, because that happens once in a while, and it's easy to get comfortable with the fact that there's one guy that's willing to take it, so it must be a good deal.
Yeah.
And then those guys don't show up, and escrow doesn't always cover the wounds.
But you touched on like not getting overzealous on a deal, which I feel like when you're new, it is so easy to tell yourself that a deal's going to work.
Oh, always.
Because you get attached to the property, you get attached
Yep.
to the paint selections, the tile, and all
Yep.
this stuff that's going to go in, and you don't realize that, as you mentioned, real estate is, how do you word it? A cold-hearted bitch.
The market's a cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah.
That won't meet you in the middle.
Yeah. So like you being obsessed with tile and paint and all
Yep.
that does not make your spreadsheet look any better.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, when people first get into real estate, unless they're a really analytical person, it's really difficult to not get attached to the HGTV part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like that's what drives a ton of people to it.
It is, of course, right? And it really is awesome. Like the transformation in real estate is what can be so rewarding,
Yeah.
and seeing the before and afters. But like, you can't let that be the sole reason that you're doing it, because we're here to make money.
Yeah.
You know, that's what
Yes,
it comes down
it's
to.
not just a hobby.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
I guess for some people it could be. But. All right. So you've done a great job of building the team, Banyan, and like, you're a great leader. What is a lesson that you've learned over, the past few years when it comes to leading a team?
I would say that the biggest lesson when it comes to leadership for me is that leadership isn't as much about having authority as it is as trying to help people develop into the best version of themselves.
Okay.
And I think that some of that goes back to when I first got into real estate. Probably the type of individuals that I was leading, there were knuckle draggers that were, half of them are crackheads and just want to get paid at the end of the day to go and do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Kind of a tough group to lead.
Yeah.
Right. Not really looking to improvement. Fast forward to where we are now, and dealing with people that are coming in, they have their own personal ambitions in life, and we are part of that pathway for them to find that success. And that's an extremely rewarding position to be in for me, is working with people that are on our team and all moving towards a common goal, but really providing like guidance on how do you turn an obstacle or a challenge into something that they can solve and then better themselves and moving towards their own goals as well.
Do you think that could be brought into the household at all, in the way
Yeah.
you lead your family as well?
Yeah, definitely. Especially in a household environment like mine, where it's my wife and I and Brody.
Yeah.
It's a small team, right? And we're really I'm talking about, I guess, in this situation like with Megan, right?
Yeah.
But as the fathers in our households, we have a responsibility to set the example of what a male is supposed to be doing. So I think it's really important to always be having Brody see what I'm doing, because I guess the difference between business and household is like Brody doesn't care about business milestones,
Yeah.
right? Like if we have like a 6-figure month, like Brody doesn't care, like, and he's not going to care for years,
Yeah.
right? Like it'll be, I mean, I don't even know when he'll get to the point. I mean, my son's 3, so but like even like a 20-year-old, like you can tell them that you had a great month, or you had a 6-figure deal that closed, and that sounds really cool, but like that's not really like moving the needle in terms of leading them. You know what I mean? Like the way that you lead is by how they see you conduct yourself.
Yeah.
So like we were talking about earlier, do you follow through on what you say you're going to do? How do you deal in times that are challenging, or when you're presented with an obstacle, or when someone steals from you, or like these different scenarios that come up, and they're watching your actions. So like for me, I don't want Brody to grow up hearing me just talk about values. I want him to see me live them and embody them.
Yeah. So something that I have to kind of add to that, something I've admired about you is like not only your ability to have them, but your ability to like calmly navigate tough conversations. You are, you're not afraid to speak with our contractors when things aren't going right. You're not, whoever it is, you attack that conversation instead of like kind of cower, which I feel like is not really, that's not common nowadays. A lot of people are cowards. I felt, as we're in this like keyboard warrior type of
Yep.
environment, like Where does that courage come from, do you think?
Two big places. When I think about who I look up to with that is my dad and my father-in-law. They both are the same way, where they've always been straight shooters, and I grew up with my dad as a great role model. And when things just needed to get done, he took care of them.
Yeah.
And if someone did something wrong, he addressed it and did that. And then I guess I carry that forward now, especially as me being a dad. I think about that a lot. I'm like, if I have this situation that needs to be addressed, and Brody was right here watching, sometimes he is. We completely live our business, so there's very common. Brody came to the closing table with us, so a seller's dining room table on a Saturday morning after we were at the gym. So how would I want him to see me navigate a situation like that, where there needs to be a hard conversation? And I also, from me, like, I'm not typically like a yeller or anything like that. Like, I believe in conducting it very calmly, but like straightforward, and getting to the point, and not pussyfooting around what the real problem is there too.
Yeah, cool.
I appreciate that, dude.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I've learned this through church, and just kind of through my own, I think, reflection and looking at different situations. But like, a man is not passive.
Right.
So avoiding hard conversations, you are being, the definition of passive, and that's just like, you're not a strong person if you're doing that. So.
Well, it's also like weighing on you then, right? If you don't have
too.
that conversation, it's like, I think about this with to-do lists, but it's the same with hard conversations. There's a lot. You just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
You just do it.
If you don't do it, there's like, you get to a point where there's a lot of resentment.
Right.
And I've noticed that with flipping houses, dealing with different contractors.
Yep.
Sometimes I've like wanted to avoid just, if I don't like something, but I can deal with it.
Yep.
I deal with it, and I'm like, well, that's not the right way to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Just
well,
like,
it sets the standard then too.
Yeah.
That's what's acceptable.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So by not setting the standard or the expectations, or at least communicating them clearly, you're kind of just setting yourself up for, further resentment or future resentment and stuff.
Well,
like that,
you have a lot of hard conversations in our business when we need to talk to a seller and say, like, hey, the price is not going to work, based on what you had told us originally, and we've seen the property now, and it's not X, Y, and Z. You can't just let that linger out there and wait till the end. So you need to address it head on and explain to them like what we're seeing and being transparent, and we owe that to them too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What is this is one thing that you think every leader should do? Not to steal your potential answer here, but like, one thing that I thought of was the power and impact that our daily meetings had. Is there any tactic, if you want to use that, you can, but any tactic that you think a leader should kind of implement into their, the way that they go about leading a team?
I think that's important, to have a individual relationship with each of the people that are really key players around you. We benefit from the fact that we have a team that's less than 10 people.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to reach out to everyone that's a core member and key player.
Yeah.
But I find that it's really critical, because having people on your team that you actually care about and you take an interest in a sincere way too. This goes beyond just like, hey, how do you lead? It goes back to like, how do you add people to your team? How do you select players on your team? If you have a lot of people that you don't really care about that much, you're just managing them. You're managing them all individually. But when you have a team of people that you genuinely care about, you care about their actual success and seeing them grow, well, it takes it from managing them individually to leading them collectively.
Yeah.
And for you as a leader, like, when you're managing a lot of people, you have thousands of decisions and thousands of direction you need to give and all that. But when you take it and you care about those people and it turns into leading, you're really just minimizing all those decisions down to one thought, because you're doing it based out of care. So you lead from your heart.
Yeah, I like that. So, we were talking, I think before we even started here, about how, like, in the mornings, hundreds of times we've exchanged messages before 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Sometimes before 5 a.m. and people would, call us crazy. I know why I get up and do that, but what what motivates you to be, sometimes if you tell me you're just naturally up at 3:40 because you want to do something related to our business. Like, where does that motivation come from for you to be up that early?
I just feel like there's so much to be achieved, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but when I have those mornings where I my body just wakes me up and it's just like I'm ready to go and want to start getting after it. It's not because I don't want to sleep in. I would much rather somebody sleep in.
Yeah.
But I sometimes I really generally get like inspired by like what we're working on and want to get started on moving the needle and like having those those tasks done. And that time in the morning is also very sacred.
Yeah.
Right. It's just you can't replace that. Like going downstairs, having a cup of coffee. It's dark outside. It's silent, and you kind of the world is yours.
Yeah.
In that hour, and it's a very special time. So where does the motivation come from? I guess that just goes into like how far do I want to see the company go?
Sure.
And I just know that if we're not getting after it like that, it's not gonna get there.
Yeah.
And so like trying to see something reach its full potential, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
And you gotta love doing it. I know you feel that way, and I feel that way too.
Yeah.
And what has opened up for us in terms of opportunities and both in business and in personal life thus far based on what we've been doing, it's kind of addictive.
Yeah.
It's like I think about it in the same way and the same energy as when I was like 12 and you'd buy a new computer game or something and you'd wake up and want to just run to the computer and go play it at 4 in the morning because you're so excited. It's like it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have the same childish enthusiasm about it, but like, it's in the same way. Like I'm really excited to get to work on what it is that we're building, and we have so many different things that we're always working on.
Yeah.
And you can put your attention like if you're having one of those mornings where you wake up and your creative juices are just flowing, like you can work on this. If you're like, hey, I'm like full numbers mode, like we have all those different things. So.
Yeah.
What about you?
I use it as my way of like preparing for the chaos, I guess.
Yep.
Like I see those early hours as a really good opportunity for me to make sure that one, I'm getting my head right. So I'm hitting the gym early, but then I'm reading, I'm journaling, I'm kind of doing my to-do list.
Yep.
I'm making sure that I can think very clearly about like kind of what the day is going to look like, so that when Logan gets up, which seems to be earlier and earlier, every single day now, but like if we have any fires at work or anything like that, like one, I'm mentally clear from like the biological changes from working out early, but also like I think it's more so I'm not feeling like I'm running behind.
Yeah.
Like when I don't even know how I used to get up at, I don't know how I used to think that going to an 8 a.m. class was tough, because there was a time where I was like, oh, 8 a.m. class is too early.
Yeah.
But like now I get to the point where if I wake up too late, I feel like it's like anxiety.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I feel like I'm behind, and I'm now very reactive to everything that's going on throughout the day instead of being proactive and kind of, just planning for that chaos. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, part of, not by the way, not to say that waking up late is a bad thing. Everyone has a different routine and what works for them. That just works for us clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like if I sleep in, sometimes I'm waking up into the chaos.
Yeah.
Especially in what we do. I mean, flipping houses, dealing with projects and contractors, and we have property management, which comes with tenants, and everything that comes with that.
Yeah.
It's like shit happens by 9 a.m.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's nice to have that time in the morning. I know your schedule pretty well, but I kind of like to hear right now what you're doing, because I know it changes just like mine does a little bit. You find something that you like and you do that for maybe 6 months or whatever, and then you change it up a little bit into something else. But it all follows the same type of cadence, more or less. But right now I wake up and I do a little bit of meditation in the morning. Which is kind of funny to say out loud, but I actually do that. I don't know. What
does that look like?
Right now, we have a goal, financially for our company to hit. But I think about hitting that at the end of the year, but it's not like this visualization of me like counting out dollars. It's more of like celebrating with our team
Yeah.
and like being able to tell my parents and like take them out to dinner and tell them like we hit our goal.
Yeah.
And us all go out to like a badass team dinner together. And
Yeah,
like,
I look forward to that.
yeah, you know, like it's like that gets me really pumped in the morning, and like that's something that I can fall back on in my head. So like I think about that very clearly. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what jacket is John wearing at dinner when we all go to Urban and like that kind of stuff, you know?
Probably none because I sweat.
Right. Well, what steak are we getting? Like that kind of stuff, you know? Where are we sitting? So I do that. I do some breath work kind of as I'm doing that. Just breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and breathe out. And then sometimes I'll do some self-affirmations. I don't do those every morning right now. But I always come downstairs and I do my morning gratitude and I write it down. And I also write down a moment from the day before that I was proud of. Nice. And I do that to hold myself accountable so that in the current day, I know that I need to do something to make myself proud because I got to write about it tomorrow, you know? So it's always the future you judging you today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
true.
what about you?
My morning starts at 4 a.m. I get up and right into my oatmeal because I always feel like I'm starved every time I wake up. Actually, I should say I have a like this non-negotiable for myself when it comes to caffeine.
Okay.
And you know that I'm huge caffeine. At one point, it was 2-3 energy drinks a day,
Right.
and I've tried to.
Where are you at now?
Really. Maybe 1 or 2 a week. It's
pretty good, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For energy drinks, I drink a lot of coffee, but
Baby steps.
yeah, it's probably better for me. But so first thing is a big cup of water with electrolytes, and then I'm into my oatmeal, getting fueled up for the gym, and then I'm reading, and I try to get a verse or two, a passage of the Bible in, and kind of reflect on that a little bit. And then I reflect on my journaling from the day before. So I do mine a little opposite. I journal at the end of the day, kind of look at how my day went, what I would do the same, what I would change, what I was proud of, and what I would do tomorrow to make myself proud. So I look at that in the morning.
I think that's, since you told me you started doing that, I've thought about those a lot, and I really like that intention.
Yeah, I think it's been very powerful since I started doing it because I kind of do the same thing, a little, I guess, backwards, but like throughout the day, I think, okay, you said that if you were to do X, Y, and Z, you would be proud.
Right.
You could lay your head on your pillow, you'd be happy. And so you got to do them, you know? And then I kind of, at the end of the day, I ask myself, okay, what would I have done different? And if I have to say, what I would do different is I would do the tasks that I promised I would do, but I didn't. Like, that's just like, it's an ego blow to myself,
Sure.
Somehow.
So do you do 3, or I'm saying 3, I do 3. Do you have non-negotiables that you write for the day?
I don't have non-negotiables that I write for the day.
Okay.
I just really write, like, really, it's what I would do to be proud, what I would be proud of.
I guess I wasn't sure if they were like a separate. So like I have my proud moment, but that would be something like it could be anything, right? Like I was proud that I hit a PR at the gym, or I was proud that I don't know, I was happy how I delivered this today at the meeting or something like that. But then I think about in the morning, I like to do 3, and it's like a non-negotiable thing that I'll get done that day. And so like today it was, I was gonna prep, so I'd have, there can be not huge things in life, but like we had Brody's meet and greet with his teacher today. And so I wanted to go in and like have some questions for the teacher. So it's a good use of time. It's not just like shaking a hand and then, everyone twiddling their thumbs, So coming up with a few questions to meet the teacher, getting a notice of commencement done that we need to get completed so we can get through some demolition, and then also talking to 2 applicants for the Jazz sent over to me. So basically, we're hiring for a temporary property management position when she's on maternity leave. She sent me 2 applicants on Friday, and that's sort of a time sensitive situation. So it's on my desk, and it's like I could put this to the side because I have other things going on, but that's an important thing that's going to move the needle. So I need to do it. So
Yeah, I try to, so I do 3 things when I write down what I could do the next day that I'd be proud of.
okay,
And one of them, I try to make like a needle mover.
yeah,
Other one, the other ones could be small if they're just important to me. Like if I didn't have the greatest day or greatest couple days with my diet,
Yep.
like diet's on there.
yeah, it's going to do it today.
That's going to make me proud.
Still, debatably, I guess that's my point. Like with the Brody's teachers thing, and you with the diet, those are needle movers.
Yeah.
They're just in a different part of life than our business.
Yeah.
Like I had on there for a while that I was like, I was going to do something that would make me proud of being a family member. So I was going to make sure I was doing something for my grandma that day or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like those are, needle moving in relationship context. You know?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So.
What is a non-negotiable that you have for yourself, either business or in personal?
I don't eat in bed.
That's a good one.
Except on vacation. It's my guilty pleasure. God, I wish I had a better answer for it. I don't really have one, honestly.
That's fine. My only when I think about this, like I have my principles and the things that I like to do, or the things that I like keep myself from doing.
Sure.
But this one's super simple. But the water before caffeine
Yeah.
is like I've really made that a non-negotiable. It is very rare that I'll have.
Is that the first thing when you come downstairs that you do?
First thing when I wake up, it is a giant glass of water.
Do you do
electrolytes.
your I don't know, what are you using right now? Do you have a Yeti or an Alvin, or what have you moved on to?
I'm a little embarrassed to say what I use, but it is a giant 32-ounce Bucks cup.
Okay, that works.
And as an Eagles fan, I don't really want to say that. But
I was wondering why the embarrassment was there. That makes more sense. Yeah.
All right, what about like a principle of yours that helps you lead a happy life? I've got one for you, although it's not really a principle, but I feel like you do a really good job of making sure that you have date nights.
Yes.
I think that's I don't do enough of that.
I should probably give more credit for my wife for that one. But yeah. I will say, so thank you for that. We definitely do that quite a bit, and it is really important, I feel like, in our marriage and relationship, because it goes back to what we were talking about of just recognizing that relationship is the foundation to raise a healthy family.
Yeah.
So if that foundation itself isn't healthy, then you can't expect it to breed that into the rest of the family.
Yeah.
But one of the other principles, and this maybe goes back to the non-negotiable too, and it's really just prioritizing in life, is I like to have little mantras that kind of resonate with me and remind me of what I'm trying to do. And I had never miss a bedtime written down, and that was one that I did when Brody was born, and it was a reminder because we can get very guilty of having late nights too, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously our late nights end around 9:30, but still. but just
I guess it helps that he's getting older. His bedtime's probably
right. Yeah, exactly. But I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just staying at work trying to get stuff done that wasn't something that needed in the scheme of life to be done that night.
Yeah.
Could it wait till the next day? Just ask myself very candidly, what's more important, watching your son grow up or getting things done at work? I've told myself that I'm a family first guy. It's like, okay, well then you need to put that into action.
Yeah.
And so that mantra for me came to light of never miss a bedtime, just a reminder of the priorities, so that if I'm sitting there at my desk and thinking that I'm doing something important, it's that consistent action every single day.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're gonna have moments where it's not that I never ever am gonna miss a bedtime. It's like, no, I'm gonna have work events sometimes at night.
Yeah.
That we need to go to, or a dinner or something like that. But in general, remembering what the priority is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've really been. If you haven't noticed, I've really been putting a strong effort into. I think I've explained this, but kind of like roll batching my day.
Yep.
And things overlap. It's never perfect, but in the morning, I definitely try to. My 4 to 7 window is where I really try to be I'm there for me.
Yep.
And then, that 7 o'clock expiration has kind of been influenced by the time that Logan is awake and needs me. And like, I try to really, that's a very special kind of time for me. Like
Right.
I'm a morning guy. I love making her breakfast.
Yep.
Like I just like really try to be present. And then, the work and all that happens. And then in the later part of the day, like I put a lot of effort into there just being at least a small window of time where my phone is not by me, and like I'm seeing her smile, I'm looking at her eyes, like I'm just I'm cherishing,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and as I've started to do that, it's kind of helped me, I think, slow down.
Yeah.
Which is always something that I've struggled with.
It's important, right? We've talked about this, privately, but being present, not just in family life, but just in everything that you do, is so important because you get so much more out of those moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm speaking to myself when I say this too, because I still need to remind myself last night, one of our project managers was at a property as I was holding Brody, getting him into the bath and looking at my phone, trying to do 2 things at once. And he needed me. He was like, asking me to do something.
Yeah.
And Megan was the one. She was like, "Hey, like, you have to put your phone down." And I was like, at first you're kind of course, like, you've been told what to do. You're irritated. But I apologized to her later. I'm like, "You're right. Like, that was completely the right thing."
Yeah.
Like, and it's tough because, like, literally project manager at a property asking you questions, or your son that needs you right now, and like, doing bath time or whatever was going on.
Yeah.
But
you're not doing either of those well.
Right, exactly, and that's the whole point. It's like you can't just be doing 50% on one and 50% on the other. It's like you'd rather be 100% dedicated to it because you're going to get so much more out of it. And the other thing about that too is I can't remember the guy's name. I want to give him credit. He was a podcast that Punet recommended to us.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll give a shout out at the end. We'll look it up.
I know.
But he was talking about on what is it? Modern Day Wisdom. I think is another podcast he's on.
Yeah. Modern wisdom. Yeah.
Modern Wisdom. Okay. Yeah. He was talking about the difference between anxiety and stress. And stress he defined as the desire to be doing 2 different things at the same time and you can't.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and I thought that was really great. And then anxiety is not knowing what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that is just a great, very boiled down summary of like what those 2 things are. Like, I rarely cope with anxiety, luckily, because I'm constantly trying to figure out what it is that I need to do.
Yeah.
But I do relate to that feeling of stress where you can have 2 things that like they equally need to be done and you just physically can't because you can't be in 2 places at once.
Yeah.
But deciding, it's just like having a good leader, like sometimes a decision just needs to be made. It might not even be the best one, but just everyone is happier because a decision has been made.
Yeah.
And we lead, we lead ourselves first, right?
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes we need to just make that decision. And as long as we've said, okay, well, you know what, I can't do both. I'm just going to do this. We relieve ourselves of that stress, the actual stress, by at least saying we know what we're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that reminded me of. I guess we're gonna start calling out all the big guys, but in the Buy Back Your Time book by Dan Littell, he brought up this example, and I tried looking it up, and I don't know if it was a real example. I think he made it up, but he told a story as if it was real, but I don't think it was.
Okay.
But there was a guy doing a presentation.
Yep.
In this story, and in front of his audience, he was basically trying to point out like multitasking and the fact that it doesn't work.
Right.
So what he did was he had them write out letter by letter, a phrase. Let's, in this case, say it was, let's use Banyan Residential Group.
Okay.
We both know that very well. We know how to
Right.
spell it and all that. And then they're like, so that's phrase 1. Let's use the best cash home buyer as phrase 2.
Okay.
Not phrases, but whatever. We both know them very well.
Yeah. Proper nouns.
I can write Banyan Residential Group in less than 10 seconds. I can write this, the best cash home buyer in less than 10 seconds.
Right.
Then the third scenario. So he had write the first one, time yourself. Write the second one, time yourself. And then he said, okay, one letter at a time, write them both. So
Back and forth.
B, T, yes.
Yep.
And people were getting so frustrated because of how long it was taking.
Yep.
And it was like, for me, it was like the perfect picture or story to paint. Like, you can't multitask.
Yeah, that's
you know,
great.
you're not giving either task its full effort, and you're just wasting time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just reminded me of that.
That's a very good story.
I
It's
really
very telling. It's like in your face, right?
Yeah, it really is.
You can't deny that.
All right, so something I've noticed and I think is very obvious of like high achievers, you know, to get to success, you need to be consistent. How do you structure your day to ensure that you're being consistent with the things that you need to do?
It starts with that morning that we just talked about. And my morning routine is definitely one of my most sacred regiments, I would say. I tend to like to have time available for myself in the morning. I like to schedule afternoon meetings and that kind of stuff outside of our team.
Yeah.
You know, I like to have the time we have dedicated to our team you know, for the meetings. I would say it's kind of funny. So I like to have the day structured, but I need to have some opportunity for free will in there too.
Yeah, some flexibility.
Yeah, you know, like I don't know if that's a personal trait or maybe it's just one that in general we all innately have. But I need to feel like if I have something that I need to explore, I have the opportunity and ability to do that.
Yeah.
That was something for me that I didn't like about school, honestly, in general. Like it just, you know, going back to a young age, was just that structure. Because there could be something in a class that I was like, man, that's really interesting to me. It was like, well, you got to stop learning that. You got to go to the next class that you don't like.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that totally ruins the whole idea of education, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But so, I guess going back to the original question. Yeah, I wake up, I do my gratitude and my proud moment and visualize for the day and think about what it is that I want to achieve. And then I usually get at least an hour of what I kind of call like deep work.
Yeah.
Like my morning time, like my brain is rested and feels good. Like it wakes up ready to go.
Yeah.
So I like to start tackling things first thing in the morning. And that's also when I like to kind of like map out what it is I'm going to try to get done that day. Then I usually spend some time with Brody when he wakes up and with Megan. And then I go to the gym and work out hard, come back, eat. Maybe I'm going too detailed.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, and then we do our meetings. Yeah, I mean, that's the general structure.
Sure. Yeah, I've been trying to use my calendar
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
To kind of just keep me on track. Between that and like checklists,
Sure.
I've been trying to really use those tactics.
How do you do your checklist?
All right, so I have what I call, I'm glad you asked this actually. I have what you call multiplier tasks
Okay.
and like singular output tasks.
Okay.
And I'm sure both of those terms, like there are better terms to describe
They sound cool so far.
like what they are. But so I started building out like, okay, this is what needs to get done today. And then I put an X next to the tasks that essentially unlock the ability for someone to do something.
Okay.
So if
Yep.
you know, a member of our team like Andrew, if he needs an answer on like, hey, what do we need to market this price at or this property at, like what price? If I don't get him that answer, then he can't go market that
Yep.
property. So I try to do that. So I try to front load the multiplier tasks to make sure that the team is getting the most out of the day.
Yep.
And then I save when I can, you know, as best as I can, the singular output tasks, which is like me going in and paying my credit card bills,
Right.
and like different things like that don't really have like an immediate domino effect.
Yeah.
Or they're like the long-term things that like putting together a training program for like Mike when he was coming in for acquisitions. Like
Yep.
me getting something done that day for that does not help the team.
Yep.
You know, or in the short term.
That's so good. Honestly, I agree. I think that is one of the biggest realizations from a leadership mindset is recognizing that you are responsible for empowering the other people in the team to get their jobs done.
Yeah.
So like once you line that up so that they have the ability to do that, then you can focus on these tasks that don't have the same time constraints.
Yeah.
Right. Like then you have the whole rest of the day to be able to go and do put together training or something. You know, which has a time constraint, but it's not that day, not that moment.
Yeah, I started thinking about this, like if it was opposite, I started really thinking about like the productivity of someone throughout the day, especially if they're more of like a 9 to 5,
Right.
kind of like a salary position or something like that, and think about, okay, when they get in, especially in an office setting.
Yeah.
Okay, they come in at 9 o'clock. They got to go get their coffee. For some reason, they already have to go to the bathroom. Like,
Right.
time's wasted there. They have lunch. You know, there's always like that starting the engine time.
Yep.
So like, okay, and then like 15 minutes before lunch, their motivation and productivity probably dies down. Then they go have lunch, and then they're starting the engine.
Then 15 minutes start the engine and like review the tabs they have open again.
Yeah. And then like you get to the end of the day, okay, I get off at 5, it's 4 o'clock, I might as well stop doing anything because
Right.
I'm not going to finish it. And it's like, all right, like if I flip that and I'm getting the things that unlock your ability to do your job and I'm doing that late in the day, then it's like, what were you able to do throughout the day? You're not maximizing the day. So if we look at that over 365 days, it's like
a lot of extra time, right?
it's like, yeah, by me, if I reverse the way I do that, how much more output could our team have?
Sure.
So that's how I've started to try to look at it and you know, go about my task list.
That's awesome. I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
That's cool. So I know you're thinking about that. Have you always been a maximizer when it comes to your time?
No.
No? You feel like you just dicked around at points?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it wasn't until, I feel like the last 6 or 7 years is where I've really kind of just grown.
Yeah.
You know, as a young kid, I don't feel like I made great choices, and like kind of there was a point where I was just like never really happy. I was always kind of businessy.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how this came out of like waiting tables, but like that's kind of where it started because I got to see like there was some scalability in waiting tables. If I did I'm going to work the same hours, I'm going to work the same tables, but if I do things a little bit better, I'm going to get a lot more money.
Bigger tips, bigger orders.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, that was like the start of sales, because it kind of is.
It is sales for sure, yeah. There's an element of sales in everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of like, does your pay get,
Right.
You know,
you get commission for
is your
it.
pay reliant on it? But it wasn't until, I don't know, 2017-ish where I feel like my whole mind kind of shifted, and then I started getting really into how to look at time, how to leverage it, and
Yep.
you know, grow a business and stuff like that. So, no, definitely not always.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the last couple of years, I've really, I think, dove into self-development.
Yep.
So, I think my first like attempt into like really getting into self-development was actually like the 4 a.m. What was that book? Or not the 4 a.m. The 5 a.m.
5 CEO? Or is that?
No, I forget what it is. The 5 a.m. Club or something.
Oh, that's
like
what
that?
it is. Yeah. I don't know why it says CEO.
I think that was like the first book where it like had me start to focus on the mornings and
Sure.
leveraging my time. But all right, to wrap things up, 3 lessons. 1 for each real estate newbie, a fitness, someone who wants to get into fitness, and then someone who's either expecting or is a new dad.
Okay.
So loaded question.
I gotta do all 3?
Yes.
Okay. Let me start with the dad one. I would say just go all in on it.
Okay.
You know, and what I mean by that is, it's at least for me. I mean, some guys I know that have been going to dad. I'm like, how you feeling? They're like, great, man. I can't wait. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't feel that way. You know, I always knew I wanted to have kids, or in this case, I have a kid right now. But Megan and I have been married for over 10 years now. So I think the inference from a lot of people around us and our families was we were going to have kids a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's very common. But we were just having so much fun, and I was, you know, really focused on wanting to be at a spot where I felt like it wasn't even so much about like the financial part of work. It was wanting to feel like I had reached a certain level of what I wanted to attain before I was ready to say like, all right, I feel like I'm dad worthy, I guess,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So anyway, leading up to having Brody, it wasn't so much nervous. It was just like a lot of anticipation, and you're very introspective and judging yourself,
Yeah.
and you think a lot about the way you were raised, and all these things kind of go into it. So I decided the only obvious answer was I was going to just dedicate myself 110% to it. And I've gotten out more purpose in life from that than I have in anything else I've ever could have dreamed of.
Yeah.
So I know that's a very broad statement of just give your all to it and go all in. But I feel like when you get there, you get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I completely agree. I think, and I've been a witness of people not being
Right.
100% into it, and yeah, I think that's you got to realize kind of what is there, what you have in front of you when you have a
Yeah.
kid, and
So it's like that's your breathing legacy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So all the good lessons and bad lessons you learn in life. This is your opportunity to pass that knowledge on.
yeah.
So all right, so that's the kid one. Let's see. Second one.
Fitness or
I'll go with fitness.
Okay.
Your body can go a lot further than your mind's telling it can. Big believer in that. I mean, those are my favorite kind of workouts of just like testing just how far you can push, and I feel like that's really applicable to, not to blend in the other one too, but with business, it's like you get tested in those moments,
Yeah.
right? When you haven't been in this is unfamiliar territory, when you're really, it comes down to seconds or just like small pound increases or whatever it is, but pushing through it and getting rid of those voices in your head that are telling you that you can't do it. You stay consistent, you train, and that's what makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Getting better every day. So that would be that, and then.
with real estate, it could be real estate or business. I'll give you that.
Okay, I would say that it's more of a business one, but it's very applicable to real estate, and we've had a few instances lately that I would say back this up. Dealing with integrity. If you go forward with integrity, you will never feel bad about a deal that you did.
Yeah.
And
So obviously it's a core value of ours.
it's one of our core
so-
values, yeah. And I'm so glad that we have that one there, because obviously we have outwork, and that can be what I would say is misinterpreted as a hustle culture type of thing, because it's not. Hustle culture is just a different
Yeah.
side of it,
Yeah.
where I don't think there is a value of integrity,
Yeah.
So it's really important, like we talk about, we want winners on the team, but not people that are win at any cost.
Right.
So if you deal with integrity, then you can be proud and hold your head high no matter what you've gone through in business. Who you've dealt with, and I think we can also attest to the fact that it actually generates more business too.
Yeah.
So, and you align with people. I mean, like when you have that and you carry yourself with that, other people see it, and people that have integrity want to do business with people that have integrity as well.
Yeah.
People that don't, they run from it because
Yeah.
they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and the message, news travels fast when you don't have integrity.
Right. And to bring this to the real estate world, especially in Tampa Bay, network's smaller than you think.
It really is.
It gets small real fast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of agents, but not that many.
Yeah.
And not that many investors.
Yeah, you do some shady business in Tampa, I'm sure everyone's going to know it pretty quickly.
Yeah. What about you?
For all of them, or for?
Give me one. You choose.
I want to use the fitness one.
Okay.
I think because something I've noticed, and this could apply to everything, but where I think it's most applicable and easiest for most people to experience is the result of consistency.
Yeah.
I think that is a tool that isn't viewed as a tool as it should be, but it's overlooked.
Yeah.
And when you start to see the results of the daily, weekly work that you're putting in, not only are you obviously getting closer to your goal, but there's just such a great feeling when you see, okay, the stuff that doesn't have immediate results, I stuck through it though, and now look at everything that I have.
Yep.
And fitness is just like, it's one of those things that everyone can do.
Yep.
Anybody that has a fitness goal, you're not going to see the scale move after a day of, eating right. You're not going to see your PRs go up, or you're not going to hit PRs, in just a day. But like, if you look at 6 months, a year of you being consistent, it is powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
So I think that's where that could obviously expand to other things. Doesn't just need to be fitness.
It does. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously this is like my first podcast conversation.
Dude, I feel like you're killing it. This is great. We should just do this once a week.
Well, it's going to end different than all the ones that I see in the future.
Okay.
And this is slightly out of a request, really a request of yours, but I want to share something with you. Obviously, I have shared my mission really to start serving dads and who are high achievers, want to be high achievers within the business space. So this is kind of an introduction to that.
Great.
But I wanted to read with you my why.
Oh, okay.
So I created the 4 a.m. Dad through personal reflection. As a kid, my dad was rarely around, and even when he was, well, he wasn't. By age 9, my parents were divorced. When I was 12, I saw my dad for, what would be the last time, at least, thus far. At the time, I didn't fully understand the impact of, my father not being around, but looking back, I see how his absence and lack of leadership affected my family. It left me to face life's challenges on my own, often learning hard lessons that could have been avoided. I made a lot of poor decisions as a kid and into my 20s, which I attribute to the value system I was yet to find. But that gap, it shaped me. It also built the resolve to become the kind of father I needed, but never had. That commitment is tested daily as I work toward my personal and professional goals. The 4 a.m. Dad isn't just about waking up early. It's about showing up with purpose. It represents the decision to lead ourselves first so that we can lead our families with clarity, strength, and presence. It's about raising kids with values, consistency, and direction. This is for the dad who refuses to choose between his family and his goals. He holds both. And he doesn't do it alone. He does it with a brotherhood committed to doing the same. So I wanted to share that with you, one, because you're my best friend. But although you're not too far ahead of me, you set a really good example from the beginning. And, being someone who didn't have a great example, a role model of like what a father is supposed to be, I look up to you. So,
thanks, dude. I really appreciate that.
yeah. So
Can we hug on camera? Is that
sure. It's not the feel like.
That was great. Thank you, dude.